Hi, welcome to the official Hacks podcast from HBO Max and Pineapple Street Studios. I'm Susie Essman. On Hacks, I play showbiz veteran Elaine, a character you'll meet in a future episode when Deborah, played by the incomparable Jean Smart, offers her a special opportunity. And today, I'm your official guest host of the pod. Joining me are the brilliant Hacks creators, creator-writer Jen Statsky.
Hello.
Creator, writer, director, and actor Paul W. Downs.
Hi, Susie.
And creator, writer, and director Lucia Aniello.
Hi, Susie.
So on each episode of this podcast, a different guest host talks with you all about making of an episode of Hacks. So I'm thrilled to be here. Let's get to the third episode of season 2. It's called Trust the Process. It was written by Jen, Paul, and Lucia, and directed by Lucia.
Okay, what's going on? Why is she being meaner to you than usual?
I was mad, and I got drunk and high, and I sent a very revealing email about her, and now she's suing me for violating my NDA. I know, I shouldn't have.
No, I just hate it when she doesn't keep me looped into new lawsuits.
So this episode 3, 203, is all about the tour.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that. How did you come up with that?
Well, at the end of last season, we knew that Deborah was going to hit the road and workshop her new hour. She knows kind of getting back on the road is the only way to craft it, even though it kind of sucks. But she's also excited about it because she hasn't done something fresh and new in such a long time. So that was kind of the impetus for the entire season, was this idea of getting on the road. But episode 3 is really when the tour bus introduces itself, where Laurie Metcalf joins us as the tour manager, Alice, a.k.a. Weed. And, you know, the actual hitting of the road really starts to take hold.
Has Deborah done this before? Has she done a road tour before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's been ensconced at the Palmetto for years,
Yeah,
right?
not for a long time. She definitely was a road dog way back when she was like just coming up and doing stand-up. So she's been on the road a ton. And like when her daughter was super young, she had her on the road with her. But this is the first time she's been on the road in a while.
She's roughing it again, back to basics.
As Paul,
Yeah, didn't look too rough to me. That
No. Yeah, back to basics for Deborah Vance is not basic.
No.
It's luxe and luxurious, yeah.
And she feels so vulnerable to me in this episode, more so than I think we've ever seen her. I mean, I felt her fear. I felt her. Yeah, I mean, it's an incredibly brave thing to do. One of the reasons I stopped doing stand-up is I knew I'd have to completely reinvent myself at this point, and I didn't want to. I just didn't have it in me. But she somehow finds it in her to do that. Where is that coming from?
Well, a lot of it's from Ava. A lot of it's from this, this young girl telling her she needs to get out there and do it. And also, she's kind of desperate at this point because she's lost her residency at the Palmetto. There's kind of no way back but to start over.
And then also in the finale last season, when she did do the stand-up, she got a taste. She got a taste that there
Yeah.
was something there. She's like, it's not perfect. It hasn't been figured out yet. But just that little addictive hit got her going and told her, there's something here. I got to chase
Yeah,
it.
it made her feel young again
Yeah.
to bomb. You know what it's like to
Yeah, I
crush
think so.
always. You know what it's like. You always crush.
Well,
could you imagine bombing? It'd be amazing.
It is a problem. It is a problem because you reach a certain level where you're addicted to killing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it keeps you from trying new material a lot because you're just so addicted to the laughs. And when you try new material, even if it's good, it doesn't work right away. You have to hone it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's incredibly brave to be doing this.
Absolutely.
And going from huge venues into these little dives, another big adjustment.
Oh yeah, whole different ball game. You can see the audience. At the Palmetto, she's in this big arena. 3,000 seat theater. It's a full different thing, and she's used to resting on her laurels and doing her old material. And now it's this thing also that's really not comfortable for her, which is this. I think something that's happening in stand-up now, which is it's a little bit more confessional, it's a little bit more real. There's a little bit less set-up punchline, And so it's a whole different language she's trying to work out, which is hard also because her audience expects something from her. They're like, oh, we're used to this thing that you're not doing right now. So it's a big adjustment.
And she's working in shitholes,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I always felt that everything that you want as a stand-up is to draw. You want people to come see you,
Mm-hmm.
and half the battle is done then because they already know what they're going to get, as opposed to when you're beginning and you're going on cold and they have no idea who you are and you have to win them over. But at the same time, there's even more pressure because they expect something from you.
Right.
It's they have a certain expectation, and she's not necessarily giving them that expectation. I think it's really, really challenging for her.
Yeah. Did you tour a lot?
No, I never toured a lot. I never enjoyed it. The men used to tour all the time, and they would just, get laid at every little truck stop. And the women would be holed up in the room, hiding
with a knife in their hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was not female friendly, and it was not friendly if you didn't, if you had some kind of food thing that you were trying to stick to, which I see weed is familiar with every fast food.
We threw away Ava's dad's ashes.
Oh, Jesus. It was an accident.
Where did you throw them out?
Must have been when I had supper at McDonald's, Burger King, or Wendy's.
Or? You don't fucking remember where you ate
No,
dinner?
yeah, I remember. I ate at all three.
The gourmandness of fast food is a Jen thing.
Yeah, the fries from McDonald's are perfect. They're the
Wow.
most perfect
Yeah.
fast food item around.
Are you writing this down, Susie?
The burgers from Burger
I don't
King.
need any of that crap.
The burgers from Burger King are better, I find, than burgers from McDonald's. Slightly controversial.
Because of
Because-
the charbroil.
Charbroiled.
So
Charbroiled.
controversial.
I know.
Huge.
And then a Frosty from Wendy's. There's no dessert option. Some people like a McFlurry, but there's no
Mhm.
dessert
Uh-huh.
option at McDonald's or Burger King that quite lives up to, I find, the Wendy's Frosty.
I'm fascinated that you know this. Let's talk about this character because I love her. I mean, she was not what I expected. I knew that it was Laurie Metcalf. This was not what I expected.
You must be the tour manager. Yep. Name's Alice. Everybody calls me Weed. I know what you're thinking, but I don't touch the stuff. That's a nickname Pete Wentz gave me, and once Pete gives you a nickname, it sticks.
I don't know, sounds like sticks because that's how you introduce yourself.
Who is Pete Wentz, by the way?
He's a singer.
Lead singer of Fall Out Boy.
There we go.
I think he's a bassist.
I have
and lead
no
singer.
idea.
bassist
I
of
was
Fall Out
like,
Boy?
No, he's
Oh.
a singer and bassist, I think.
So was she written that way, or did Laurie bring that? How did that work out?
It was a marriage of the two. I mean, a lot of that. I will say that Laurie did bring a lot to the character as well.
Of course. Laurie had a very specific, she came in for her wardrobe fitting, and our costume designer, Kathleen Felix Hager,
Hi, Kathleen.
Who's terrific, by
she
the way.
is terrific.
So good.
She said
Yeah.
she has some very specific ideas. Laurie wants to have camo, she wants a vest, and she wants Weed never to change clothes. And we were like, that sounds exactly right.
Yes,
That
and
these-
the watch.
Yeah.
And a men's
and
watch.
a large men's watch and a keychain with a lot of keys, a ring of keys. And so, Laurie is very specific and so funny. She can raise an eyebrow and is so liquid funny. We were just so happy to work with her.
Yeah, and we wrote the character and we put in the script think Laurie Metcalf because that was our
Oh, you did?
yeah, that was our dream person. And so, you're like, well, yeah, in a million years can we get her? And it worked out that we did.
And luckily
I mean,
she was
it's
available.
a very
and-
funny story actually, because Linda Lowy, who's the head of casting at Warner and HBO, was having drinks with Laurie in her backyard because they are essentially their family. And she said, hey, I just read the script. It says, think Laurie Metcalf, you got to read it. The character's called Weed. And then it happened that same night. It was very crazy. It was kismet.
And luckily she was available, and so she was your dream cast.
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
got her.
Yeah.
And we had Joe Mandy's done a lot of touring. He's in our writers' room, and Carol Leifer, who you know, is in our Blue Sky room, and
Yes.
she's done a
I
bunch
know
of
Joe
touring.
also.
Yes. So we had a bunch of people who helped us craft that character based on a lot of tour managers they'd met.
Yes.
Yeah, strict.
strict.
She's strict. So what in this episode was based on a real experience?
We also had a lot of tour buses come to
Yes.
Universal for us to look at. And
Oh, really?
Tour,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. We
Because
toured like 4 or 5
we
buses.
toured like 4 or 5. We have the actual bus, Deborah's white tour bus, which
Which does go all
Which
across the
does
country.
go
and
all
we did
across
shoot
the
all
country. But then for all the scenes in the interior of the bus, Deborah's custom build, it's like a build on our stages on the Universal lot. And so to build that and get really specific, and we had to be really specific when we were writing the episode too, of all this things we wanted, like the LED bed and that her bunk is so small and what Deborah's primary bedroom would look like. We toured a bunch of buses, saw things that we were like, oh, that's funny. It should have that. Let's include that. And so it was kind of just this big mix of, like our writers who are stand-ups who had been toured and giving us tidbits, seeing different tour buses from that.
And whose bus were we on? Travis Barker's bus?
Yep.
Well, anyway, all these buses have these primary bedrooms that are huge, and then these tiny, tiny bunks, one of which I got in, which was terrifying because it was on the ground, and my nose was touching the ceiling.
Yeah.
It almost feels as though Deborah enjoys, putting them into the little cubby holes.
absolutely.
Oh,
for
she
sure.
loves
For
it.
sure.
The customizations went great, and we got the soda machine.
Oh, Damien, you did good.
Yep, got a lot of snacks. We got tons of booze.
Oh, that's awesome, but I won't be having any of that stuff. I'm doing no drugs, alcohol, junk food, screen time, trying to be good, Make a big change in my life, so.
Yeah, I don't know what you were like before, so that's not really gonna register for me. Here's the pisser.
Oh, which reminds me, the number 1 rule on the bus. No number 2.
I don't know, I heard the number 1 rule is weed doesn't get involved in the drama.
Oh, there you go. Say it louder for the folks up front. Here's your bunk, kid.
I will say another thing from the episode that isn't exactly right, but I do think Paul and Lucia would pull over for any yard sale at
Absolutely.
any
Oh, yeah.
moment.
That's
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
Me too. When I saw that, I was like, of course.
yep.
Of course. It's my favorite thing in the whole world.
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like my parents were in
Yeah.
LA and they were like, we're going to go look for yard sales.
Yeah.
75 cents. Yeah.
Excuse me, is this yours?
Yeah.
Yes, what are you asking for?
I can do 250.
Huh, 250. They don't know what they've got. This is worth 20 grand. There's kind of a sizable neck on this side and some scratches here. I'm gonna have to refinish the whole thing. Would you take 150? Come on.
Let's talk about the casting process for, people like Laurie. You wrote that with her in mind. I know Margaret Cho is a guest star this year. I'm a guest star
Yeah.
this
We
year.
are so lucky to have you.
But when you're writing, do you have an idea of who you want for that part?
A lot of times we
A
do.
lot of times, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things that helps us be specific about writing the character and writing the dialogue is writing toward an actor. And, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, we are admirers of so many female comedians like yourself and so many actors that, we want to write for. And yeah, we've been very lucky in getting them to say yes,
And
tricking them.
And sometimes when we don't have necessarily an actor in mind, we all often will think about a person we know in our lives and we'll think about them acting it out. And that also helps us make the voice a little bit more specific versus just kind of like somebody who's a guy in their 40s. It's like, what? But if you're like, think, I don't know.
XYZ.
Joe Mandy.
Joe Mandy.
Joe
Yeah, think Joe
Mandy.
Mandy.
Yeah.
It's much easier to write.
Yeah, or that weird landlord you had in your 20s.
Oh,
know,
yeah.
like
Exactly.
specific people like that, yeah.
I mean, I assume you were casting on Zoom.
Yes,
Or
yes.
such thing.
And from a lot of self-tapes too, which we did a lot of on Broad City too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages was someone like Carl Clemens Hopkins, who plays Marcus. They were in Chicago, and I don't think they would have come into the room necessarily in a normal world. So we were able to actually interact with and audition people way outside. We cast a much wider net. I mean, Meg Stalter had gone back home during the pandemic to be out of New York, and so she was in Ohio when she read for Kayla. So I think that actually made it better for us.
So are you trying to beef up the supporting players this season? Because it seems like they're beefed up.
Yeah, we're trying to give everybody, a moment in the sun. It's a little harder, of course, because they're on the road, but we try to check in with Marcus and see how he's kind of handling this breakup, which is kind of, comes hand in hand with Deborah leaving town. So all of a sudden, he was foregoing a personal romantic relationship because of Deborah. Then he loses the relationship because of Deborah. Then Deborah leaves town. Now all of a sudden
He's
has
very
neither.
destabilized. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out who is he and how does he find his happiness if he has kind of nothing to hold on to.
Talking is not going to change anything. He has a job, I have a career. It's never going to work.
Oh, okay. Well, can I keep talking to him?
No.
Okay, I won't.
happiness is a warm puppy he finds.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the nice parts about season 2 is finding different combinations of characters that we didn't really get to put together as much in season 1. And so we love that scene between Josephine and Marcus. Josephine played by the wonderful Rose Abdu.
Can you button me up?
Sure, yeah. You know, if this is a move, I am gay.
I have a date.
Oh, I didn't know you were dating.
Well, I wasn't, but with Deborah gone, I finally started having nights to myself, and I got tired of coming home to an empty house.
It's just such a nice moment where you haven't really seen the intimate language between these two characters who are, we always wanted the show to be about Deborah's ecosystem and what does it mean for this very wealthy, rich person who has like all these people on her payroll, but all those people have connections and they've been in the world forever too. And so we wanted to explore like, well, what are their interactions like and talk about their personal lives and inner lives. And it's just such a lovely scene between Carl and Rose that we just love.
And they're all terrific. I mean, and I worked with them all, and they were just terrific to work with, and great on screen and off. So you guys have created a wonderful family, a working family, and I always believe it comes from the top. So I'm giving you the credit.
Oh,
We'll always take it.
Well, let's talk about their relationship, Ava and Deborah.
So what's up?
Is this a 2-bedroom? Because I can list it as a 2-bedroom if there's a closet in the storage area.
Is that my condo?
For now. Depends on how good your lawyer is.
I can't really afford one. My best option's Jimmy's cousin who works in environmental law and said she'd help me if I get coffee with her son who wants to get into comedy, which is worth it.
And we find out that Deborah is suing Ava for her NDA, breaking the NDA. Their relationship is so complex. The love-hate relationship they have.
Yeah, they're, Ava and Deborah have a very complicated, interesting dynamic. They love each other, but they also hate each other and they clash. And, this is just another example. Like, Deborah is suing her. She is in litigation with Ava, but that's also, we talked about how rich people are constantly in litigation and it's like not as much of a big deal to them. And so
It's sport.
It's sport,
It's
yeah.
fun.
But for Ava, it's incredibly frightening and crazy, and she's obviously never been sued. But it's also, Deborah does love to needle, and she loves to teach lessons, and she obviously can give as good as she gets. And so it's also her way of being like, don't fuck with me. I'm gonna punish you for this thing you did, and I'm not gonna fire you, and it's fine. But yeah, I am going to be in litigation against you.
But she comes off sometimes really mean,
Mm-hmm.
really, really mean.
Yep.
And then, she jumps in a dumpster,
Yeah.
which is horrifying to her to jump in a dumpster. I mean, it's like, oy vey, it's disgusting. And yet she'll do that. There's such she's such a compartmentalizer.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I think she jumped in that dumpster partly because it was getting late and she was sick of it, and partly to help Ava, but also partly because she knew she was the only one who's going to find it. Sometimes
let
you
me
gotta
do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's got to figure it. You know?
Well, she's the best at everything.
That's the thing.
She's right.
She is right.
I do that with my kids. It's like, get out of the way. Let me just do it.
She's actually like Jean in that way because Jean wanted to jump in that dumpster. We were like, Jean, you're just going to walk toward it. We're going to cut away before, and then we're going to cut. And she's like, Jean's jumping into the dumpster, stepping on like a I don't even know.
Rusted knot of a.
Yeah, she really wanted to do her own
Jean
stunts
wants
yet
to
again.
do every stunt. She is such a pro. We have to like hold her back
It's
from
true.
doing
She gets
things.
Mad
a
at
real
us.
trooper. And my first time meeting her was actually when I worked with her, what was it, 2 months ago, whatever, less. You would know the exact date.
Yes,
Gucci.
I
Yeah,
think
it was
would.
8.5 weeks ago.
Yes.
Yes, okay. But meeting her, she was not that character at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. She's not the character. I just mean she's physically capable of jumping in
Yeah.
the dumpster, but
Yeah.
she's no.
What was that like for you? How did you feel meeting her? And what
Well,
was that
I have
experience
such
like?
respect for her, and I found her to be very warm and, as expected, extremely professional and extremely serious about what she's doing.
Oh, yes.
Which is what I expected her to be. As most good people are, people who are good at what, and not that she can't joke around and be light,
Yeah,
but she's focused. And this was the end, I was in this last 2 episodes, so it's the end of a long slog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Very kind. I liked her very much.
And very funny.
I
mean,
enjoyed
she's
her.
naturally very funny. She's always texting us a joke or
She's
a meme.
also I think, expert conversationalist. She can have a really interesting conversation with absolutely
Yeah,
anybody.
she's really good at connecting with people kind of instantly. It's
Mhm.
really impressive. Even when we do like shoot stand-up scenes and there's extras in the crowd, like when we yell, like, or when Lucia or Paul yells cut, I don't yell cut.
She's always eating French fries.
You know what? But she's like talking to the extras in between her like, sets, and she's connecting with them, and she's so just like every single person that she comes in contact with, she is caring for them instantly in the conversation. It's really, really impressive.
And before I saw the show, I was a little wary of an actor doing stand up
Mhm.
because stand up is a completely different rhythm and
Yeah.
a completely different thing.
Mhm.
And I was pleasantly surprised by how terrific she was. She's acting the part of a stand up, but she inhabits it in a way that was very realistic for me. And I'd be a tough judge.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
But I think that aspect of what you were just talking about, Jen, is something that I have always felt is why women are better stand-up comics in many ways than men, that we have an innate skill of connection and caring for. And my feeling was always when I was getting up on stage, my job was not to make them laugh, it was to take care of them,
Ah,
the audience.
I love that.
I love
And that an
that.
audience wants to feel taken care of. And that women are just better at that than men. Just not everybody, not you, Paul, but just, in general, I think that that's part of our skill set.
Yeah, that's such a
100%.
lovely way to look at it. Yeah, exactly. So many stand-ups probably come into it looking at like, well, this is about me and me getting laughs and I need those laughs. But to look at it like, oh, I'm taking care of them and I'm here to curate and make sure they have a nice experience here is such a wonderful way to look at it, and probably why you're so good at it.
And you know what? You can really tell. And dear listener, you should actually go and look up some of Susie's stand-up and
Oh,
watch
don't,
some. Yes,
please.
it's true,
Yes.
Susie. It's so clear that what you just said is so present in your work, because when you watch your stand-up, especially your early stand-up, it's so inviting. You instantly know Susie Essman. You're friends with her. She's somebody you grew up with, and it's just like she's telling you a funny story. It's just so inviting and inclusive, which I think is a really rare and unique thing. And I think you're right. Women do it better.
Yeah, and I will say also, just to pile on the compliments, I will say that I think that I'm sure you feel this way when people come up to you. I mean, I think because obviously on Curb, it's a Susie Green, not Susie Essman, but people must always feel like they know you when they come up to you. They must feel
They
like,
do.
yeah, like they know you, and I think that's part of because you make people feel so welcome with your performances, and so that they feel that connection instantly.
My theory on why one feels so uncomfortable in an audience when a stand-up is bad, which you know that feeling.
Oof, terrible.
It's because it's that cringe. It's because the contract is broken with the audience, that the performer is there to take care of the audience. And when you're seeing a bad comic, the audience has to take care of the comic.
Oof, yes.
And it's a breaking of the contract of what's supposed to be happening.
Right.
And it's one of the reasons why it's so uncomfortable.
That's so
I
true.
think.
That is
What a
so
burden.
true. Ugh.
That's
You pay
so
for that
interesting,
burden,
yeah.
and then you're angry.
Well, when you tell me that about Jean, that's what she is like as a person, it gives me insight into why she was able to play this comedian.
But Jean also wanted to be a stand-up. I don't know if you know this. She dressed up as
I
Phyllis
didn't know
Diller for a Halloween costume party when she was like 12. She was like, in an alternate universe, I was a stand-up. I've always kind of wanted to do that. So I think it was the thing that really interested her at first in the script, is that it was kind of like the path not taken. And you can see it. Like she knows how to sell a joke. She knows how to connect with an audience. And like Jen said, she really is such a consummate entertainer that she's entertaining the background. I mean, it's really hard to, as a background actor, laugh at the same joke over and over and over. She's making them laugh in between jokes, in between setups, just as her, because she knows the rhythm. She knows the music of
Did
it.
you guys know that about her when you cast her?
She told us when we met for the first time, I think.
Yeah, when we met, when she had read the script and we were meeting about the project, she told us that. But before that, no. And honestly, to hear you say that, and it's such a testament to Jean, but when we were, when we started making the show, the stand-up part was so scary to us. Still is. But because we knew how hard it would be to authentically sell stand-up on the screen. It's been attempted many times, and you know, so, and it was in our minds people like you who are, you know, incredible at it and legends at it, to, you know, that's the ultimate compliment, that it comes off as authentic and real to you, because it's such a hard thing. And yeah, it is such a testament to Jean, and it's not, it's really not easy to do that.
And, you know, I mean, smartly, the stand-up is secondary in a sense to the storyline. I mean, it's an important part of the storyline, but it's secondary to the storyline because, you know, stand-up on television is, even when you watch people's Netflix specials and HBO specials and all that kind of stuff, it never is the same as live.
No,
It never really
No.
pops in the same exact way. So was there a very purposeful decision on how much stand-up was going to be involved?
Yes,
Sparingly.
we always described it as, you know, the moments that happen off the stage. It's a peek behind the curtain. We joked that it was the wig off moments that was really the heart of the show. So we never wanted it to be the primary focus of the show. Granted, like you say, it is a part of the story. Her evolution in her material is a part of her evolution as a person. And obviously the work is really important to the character. But yeah, we really wanted it to always be about the quiet moments off stage and what was happening in her life.
Not so quiet all the time.
No, sometimes very loud. She yells a lot. And you know what? We love it. No one can yell like Jean.
I also love when she's listening to her stuff and working on the stuff. For me, listening to myself from a set that I did the night before was always horrifying. I hated it. Even if I killed, I hated that. So the fact that she has to listen to the stuff that's not working, and it really gives the sense of working on it. And it doesn't just come full force. The first time I ever saw a comedian ever was my cousin took me to the Comedy Store to see Richard Pryor.
Oh my God.
The greatest of the greats. But he was working on a special and he was workshopping. And I didn't think I was going to be a comedian at that point, but that was when I realized, oh, it's Richard Pryor. Half the stuff he's doing is dying. And I saw that there's a process to working on it that I hadn't known about. So I'm glad you're showing this whole working process because people have no idea. We know how it works, but most people have no idea how that works. And now it's time for the part of the show where the Hacks superfan in residence, that's me, gets their big chance to pitch the Hacks creators on what they'd like to see happen on a future season of the show. As a fangirl of the show, fan woman, fan babe, you know, I'd love to see her with a male contemporary who, you know, because my experience with these, she's a bit older than me, but my experience with the men that I came up with who were ahead of me, who were older than me, they had a real problem with a woman being funny, especially if she was attractive. It was just, they would just look at you and it was so confusing to them. They didn't know if they wanted to laugh at you or fuck you. They were completely, you know, they were just completely blown away by it. So I would love to see her with, you know, somebody who's a bit older than her, if they're still alive, you know, an Alan King, or you had to make your bones with these guys. And I'm sure she did, Deborah Vance.
I think we might have something for you.
I do love
Susie.
that. I do
yeah,
love
I
that.
think so. What's really cool is by the time we actually pitched the show, we knew the entire series. We know how it ends. We know the whole thing. I mean, not every episode, of course, but the general arcs for it. So really every season is a chapter, really. And so because of that, we're able to kind of know where things are going. And so something like that is part of, I think, a bit of a path of redemption for her. We're still working towards redemption for Deborah Vance in a big way.
And there's a lot because she says, I don't remember if it was in this episode or the one before, where she says they never cared about me in New York or LA. You know, oh, she's a Vegas act, you know, as though that's a lowly thing in a certain way, when she's busting her ass up there and she's filling those seats year after year after year. That is not an easy thing to do. You know, I mean, I started doing this 39 years ago and people went different directions. Somebody like Rita Rudner, for example, who four-walled it in Vegas for years and made a fortune, and that was her career, and that's a great career. You know, there's not like one way to do a career. There's a million different. We all don't get lucky to be able to be on shows like Hacks.
But that's something we wanted to explore too, because it is like, you know, and Deborah says this in episode 5 last year, and she talks about the value of a laugh and what, that just because people in LA and New York find something funny doesn't mean it's funny. It's funny if a lot of people find it funny to her. And then, I think Ava's opinion is like, well, I don't know. That might be lowest common denominator. So I think that that's right, that we try and explore what it means to be funny and what it means to be funny to a lot of people versus a few people, being a cool comic versus just a comic that makes people laugh.
Yeah, why is some stuff held in higher regard and other stuff is inherently seen as less than when maybe it's more popular? It's just such a weird...
And also, even to say something that is only funny in New York, LA is also demeaning to the people who are in New York and LA.
Yeah.
So that's also not cool either. Last night, if I may say, we had our premiere, season 2.
You may say.
We may say. And it was really interesting to watch it with a large crowd because...
don't you love that? I love that.
It's so fascinating because there was, of course, the things that were a little bit broader got the biggest laughs, which was so interesting because it's not a very broad show. So then you're like, okay, well, I guess we got to write broad jokes. But of course, we're not always writing for a huge crowd in a theater. So it's very...
And you're not always writing to get a huge laugh either.
Of course.
There's so many different subtle laughs going on.
Yeah, sometimes an eyebrow raise is all it takes to make me laugh every single time I see a take. And we see takes over, the same take over and over and over.
I know what she's talking about. She's talking about when Laurie Metcalf says upright sleepers in the mattress industry.
Me, I'm up in the passenger seat. I'm an upright sleeper.
Isn't that uncomfortable?
No way. After 30 years on the road, that's the only way I can sleep. At home, the only thing you'll find in my bedroom is a lazy boy. I'm gonna outlive all of you. Horizontal sleeping is terrible for you. Blood pools up, it's poisonous.
Interesting, that's not more widely known.
Yeah, well, that's the mattress industry for you. You see they're stuffing beds into boxes now, sending them through the mail. What's that about?
Yeah, it's
And
her
she
hand on. What's that about?
And her eyebrow raises, and it's so funny.
It's so funny because I noticed that too. And I thought, and when I watched that, I thought, what a great read. That is.
So good.
Who doesn't want to do your show? Everybody wants to do your show. It's a great, from an acting point of view, when you get something that's well written, it's just heavenly. It's just heavenly to do. So that's it for now. In our next episode, Jen, Paul, and Lucia will discuss making the 4th episode of this season of Hacks with Lunel and Angela Gibbs. Bye, guys. I miss you.
We miss you. We love you. Thank
so
you so much for doing this,
Thank you
Susie.
so much
You're
for
the
doing
very, very
this.
best.
This is the Hacks official podcast with Lucia Aniello, Paul W. Downs, and Jen Statsky. Special thanks to this episode's guest host, Susie Essman. This podcast is a production of HBO Max and Pineapple Street Studios. Our executive producers are Barry Finkel, Gabrielle Lewis, Jenna Weiss-Berman, and Max Linsky. Our producers are Beyondria July, Melissa Slaughter, and Ari Saperstein. Our managing producer is Aaron Kelly, and Maria Robin Somerville is our associate producer. Darby Maloney is our editor. The show is mixed by Twee McCallum, with engineering from Davey Sumner. Production music is courtesy of HBO. You can watch episodes of Hacks on HBO Max. Until next time.